He didn't become a millionaire until he was 32. He didn't become a billionaire until he was 55, as Jimmy said. But again, as I said before, his discipline, I do believe, is something that can be studied because you can literally move mountains with discipline. There's a quote from one of my favorite books, The Richest Man in Babylon. A part of everything you earn is yours to keep. And if you keep that near and dear to your heart, you can do a lot of things. Does Buffett have enough money to walk on his cash to the moon? Probably so. He's got $325 billion in cash. Now, it's not all his money. It's Berkshire Hathaway's money. So it's not just his, but that's how much money he has. And many people believe he knows something's going on that the rest of us don't. So welcome to another edition of the Finance Roll Show. I'm Kamari Ellis. I'm a tax accountant, former financial advisor, and I always love to talk about money, especially as it relates to everyday regular people in the Black community. And today we got the brothers from By the Hood with us because we have formed consolidation, a merger and acquisition, and we created the Black Wealth Rebels as well. How y'all doing today?
Chilling, man. What's going on with you?
I'm great, man. You know, life is good. I woke up this morning, man. So who am I to complain about anything?
That's good. And listen, I'm breathing on schedule, so all is well. All is well.
Oh, by the way, my name is Jimmy. I'm not a tax accountant, but I did stay at a holiday. No, but all jokes aside, I'm a real estate and Bitcoin person. That's all I want to talk about. So somehow I'm gonna make this conversation, regardless of what we're talking about. You will hear me mention either real estate or Bitcoin. I can promise you that.
And what is your zodiac sign since we're going that route?
I'm a Gemini.
Hi, my name is Jimmy, and I'm a Gemini. Float on. Sorry.
I like the Stetsasonic version, man.
What's up, Corey?
Man, chilling like a villain. Old 80s slang.
I know. I just want to put on the record that Stetsasonic is one of the most underrated groups, and In Full Gear is a classic album. But I digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Come on. I had to say that.
We digress about because that's real track.
That's real. And for the record, Stetsasonic is the very first hip hop band, not the Roots, but Stetsasonic.
It's true.
And no slander to either one of them because listen, Go Stetsa is one of my favorite songs.
Stat True 88. We are really aging ourselves right now. So we need to chill, right? We need to chill. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you gotta chill. We gotta chill. All right. So Buffett has $325 billion in dry powder. And if you don't know what dry powder is, we're talking about cash out. And I know a lot of times people be like, well, how did he get this much money? Well, his company, his portfolios shoot off a lot of cash. He has holdings, really strategic holdings too. A lot of insurance holdings. Insurance shoots off major cash. Some regular retail, commercial joints. Coca-Cola, I know he sold off a lot of his Coke, but they're cash cows. I can't recite everything off the top. Geico, I mean that's one of his major holdings that he owns.
I mean, Apple pays dividend. That's his number one.
Yeah.
He
sold off most of his a lot of his bank holdings, but even banks pay off a high dividend. He also, what's the REIT that he has? Store Capital. So with all that being said, though, I mean, you should get the gist of it now. He has equity in entities that shoot off cash.
Correct.
And that provide a little float that he can play with if he wants to do that.
It ain't a little bit of float. It's a lot of float.
I shouldn't say a little. That did sound wild disrespectful.
Little is relative.
Yeah, that sounded wild disrespectful. I apologize.
Yeah, like
that's ridiculous.
Compared to what? Yeah, man.
So I just pulled up what he has. I'm gonna put this on the screen real quick. Let's see. So Ali Financial, Amazon, American Express, Aon, Apple. Yeah, he sold off a lot of his Apple. So Apple is no longer his number one. Oh, no. I misspoke. Apple is his number one.
By far, yeah.
Right, 23.6. I know he did sell off a lot of it, though. He owns part of the Atlanta Braves, Bank of America, Capital One, he still owns Coca-Cola. So Diageo, he probably don't like Puffy right now. Oh, it looks like he showed that out. But, everybody loves to marvel at Buffett, his savvy advice. But I think a lot of his stuff is pretty simple, and he loves to boil it down to simple things. Invest in what you know.
And by the way, I just want to make sure there's clarity because all these holdings on the screen that Kamari is showing, he did not pick these, right? So This is Berkshire's holdings, not Buffett's holdings, because just want to make sure we're factually correct. He has his own portfolio. Berkshire has their portfolio, and then an example would be Amazon. That was not his selection. That was the guy that he has replacing him, that he's already named the successor. That was his investment. So these are Berkshire's holdings, not Buffett holdings.
But for the majority, I would say 90% of these are Buffett calls.
Well, here's where I want to make the clarification about that, because it's a couple things. He's the biggest shareholder of Berkshire, right? So technically you could call it his holdings, but there is a distinction between his portfolio, because if he has his own personal portfolio that he has to put out there as well for regulatory purposes, and then there's Berkshire's portfolio. So you'll notice that a lot of the holdings overlap, but then some of them don't.
Correct. Great technical point, Jimmy.
I appreciate it. Oh, I got a compliment from Kamari, man. You hear this? Yeah, you hear this, bro?
I heard it.
Listen, we gotta make sure we document that, man.
Oh, here we go. So if y'all don't know, and if you've never been privy or privileged enough to see when the Finance Rebel and the Buy the Hood team gets together, all we do is crack jokes. So we want to get
the king of besmirchment. So we gotta make sure that
Yeah, we got to get my man a crown and a
we got to come on the show with a crown.
But wait a minute. While I might be the king of besmirchment, Jimmy is the king of blavascating. So,
you're gonna take my word and throw it against me? Why are we using my word against me?
Why are we using SAT words?
Okay, so Corey, you missed out. You've been traveling all around the world. That's what Jimmy did. So I do use the word besmirchment. I'll own that. Jimmy introduced us to the other B word.
The other B word.
The other B word. No, but in all seriousness, this is all fun. But when we look at Buffett, right, I read some articles on him and the Wall Street Journal, and I will share those on the screen as well. Buffett said, the article is titled, "Does Warren Buffett know something that we don't?" Now, the market is at an all-time high right now. And so people are like, Buffett always gets the business. They always say he's not tech enough. He's not into Bitcoin. That's Jimmy's favorite thing. He is the Bitcoin god. But it's like he's always kind of behind the 8 ball, but he's always ahead of the 8 ball at the same time. So you
can clarify something, because that was a little bit of besmirchment too, because I never criticized him for not being in the Bitcoin, right?
I didn't say you. Don't take it personal. Don't personalize.
You said Jimmy. All right.
I said you are. So listen, Jimmy and Corey, right? Because if you know the story of how we got together, Corey and I used to debate all the time about Bitcoin. Actually, Corey would cuss me out. But him and Jimmy, like, they got the Bitcoin thing down pat. They're bringing me along a little bit.
Now, but here's what I would say. Like, so I've never been like, me, Corey, and our sister Courtney actually did a whole class one time about Buffett and Bitcoin. And like I said during that class, I don't criticize him for not being in the Bitcoin, because my thing is, if you're able to operate in a traditional system, and make billions and billions of dollars, why would you be interested in a new technology that has the ability to kind of like revolutionize that? That's like, it's wild to me, right? It's almost like, I guarantee you when the Model T, when the cars became affordable to the average person, there was somebody out there who was the king of horses who was like, I ain't messing with them cars. You know what I'm saying? Like, because why would he? You know what I mean? Why would he? It's like, yo, so, I made
$1 billion.
Yeah.
With the horses. Why would I play with?
Yeah, I ain't messing with that. So my point is, though, so I understand his perspective. But again, I have the opinion that everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve, right? He didn't initially come around to Apple. He ended up paying a higher price for Apple. But the fact of the matter is, because of what we're talking about in this show, and his ability to, I don't want to say hoard, but to create cash flow and to sit on cash, when he makes a move, it can always have an impact on that company that he's going to buy. And it's very difficult for Berkshire to actually make plays these days, right?
Yeah, he moves the market no matter what he does.
Yeah, so it's difficult for them to be nimble, right? So that's one advantage that I have over Warren Buffett. I don't have enough money. My man got so much money. My man got so much money, it became a problem.
Yeah. Now, before we go any further, let's break that down a little bit, because a lot of people, I don't think, really understand that you can have too much too much money. And when you want to go buy a stock or any investment, you then push the price of that stock or asset up.
Mm-hmm.
And so Buffett notoriously a lot of times didn't want people to follow his plays, didn't want people to follow his investments because he didn't want them to push the value up, the price up before he got a chance to get into it.
Exactly.
But when you're sitting on 300 billion, listen, and you got a name like Buffett, every move you make is highly scrutinized. So it's interesting. But right now, I'm just going to pull this up on the screen real quick. The market is at a good old 6,000. Here we go. Yeah. Oops. The market's at a good old 6,032. So the market is at a high.
That is insane, bro. That's
Right.
insane, bro.
Yo,
And
I
so
remember, 2017, 2018, before COVID, like the market was at like 1,000. Like we was thinking it might get to 3,000.
Well, 5 years ago is what? 5 years ago was 2019, so that was about 2,000 points off. It's right there. So it's 28.91. So yeah, it's about half of that price.
yeah. And so it's crazy. I mean, that's a great point you bring, Corey, because everybody was freaking out when the market dropped. I was on Actually TV and I told people, buy, just buy. And then now, 4,000 points later, we up and it bounced back and it ate that dip up real quick. So anytime you're in the market, don't panic. But I bring this up that he's sitting at the S&P 500 overall stock market is up to 6,032 points.
That's insane.
All-time high. And so when I was reading that article and it says, does Buffett know something that the rest of us don't know? Well, they base it off because he kind of historically does that. Anytime there's something crazy in the market going on, he either sells out, goes to cash, and he has enough cash to then buy back in. Now, I want to point out this article again, talking about that Wall Street Journal article. So he's done it a couple of times. 69, which they say here, yet the seemingly always optimistic and patient Buffett has turned cautious before, famously shutting his extremely successful partnership in 1969, when he said markets were too frothy. And if you don't know the term frothy, it's like when you got a whole bunch of soda and all the cream and all the fluff, the bubbles are on top. That's not real soda. So he says too frothy and also building up a substantial cash in the years leading up to the global financial crisis, which was 2007, 2008. So those two periods, he's done it. And then he had that cash that he built up, and then he deployed that cash and further making him more money. So what do y'all think about that?
So
I think he takes profit at the top. I just think he takes profit where he sees the top to be, and waits for another opportunity to get it. He buys because he has so much cash and so much capital. He just waits to get back in when he feels like it. You see what I'm saying? Like he has his steady investments and things that he has going on, and then when he perceives a top to be in play, then he goes into cash and then waits. And I think that's just smart investing. I don't know. I don't think there's any I think he has malicious intent, but I don't think that specifically is malicious.
Malicious intent. Interesting words. Intent. Okay.
So
what about you, Jimmy?
Here's what I'll say. And, I don't think the gentleman has malicious intent. Do I think he's a shark? Absolutely. I think that Warren Buffett uses his brand as like the cheap old skate, the old uncle. Very well.
Bully dog out here.
He's very well at marketing himself. Now, what I will say is this. I think that he is privy to information that we don't have. Because if he's not, something's wrong with that. If you're Warren Buffett, you have information that the rest of us don't have. That's one. Two, I feel like when you're at that scale, and the reason I keep bringing up the size of Berkshire Hathaway is because to me that makes a difference. Even if I want to follow suit and I want to go to cash, right? I don't have billions and billions of money, as they say in the commercial. I don't have billions and billions of money. So me putting cash to the side into T-bills is not going to have the same effect as someone at that scale going to cash. Him going to cash and getting the return that he'll get on T-bills, he'll make the GDP of like small to medium-sized countries just on his cash alone. So cash can be an investment if you're at the scale that he is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about y'all out there with $250 in your savings account. y'all got to make different decisions than he does, with billions of dollars. Because at this point, what is the total number of cash you're talking about?
325
billion. So let's do some math here, Kamar. Let's say $325 billion. And let's take the
4%.
Conservative 4% you just said. Right? So damn, that's $1 million. I gotta add more zeros. There's too many zeros. Times 0.04. That's about
that's like 12 million.
13
4 times 3.
$13 billion is what he'll make just sitting in cash, right? 325 billion, 4% of that, right? Yeah. So about $13 billion to do nothing. So now if I can make $13 billion doing nothing, now we got to
why would I do anything?
And that's the other point. That's what I'm saying. So now we have to talk about risk. So his risk profile is going to be different than all the rest of ours, outside of him just being, typically a conservative investor to begin with. If I have that kind of capital to deploy and that kind of money to make, check the math, Kamari, because those zeros are so many. I noticed what you're over there doing.
No, actually, I'm not looking at something else.
Okay. So no, the point I'm making, though, is because of scale, he can do that. And also because of scale, he has to make a decision that's different than the average individual investor.
Correct.
So, and that's why you have to be careful just trying to follow what he's doing. I think that I've learned a lot from reading his books, reading his letter to shareholders, which I've read pretty much all of them, watching the videos. I will give him credit. I've learned a lot about investing and a lot about how to think about the market. But one of the things that I understand is, and I know people about to get mad on YouTube, like he about to bring race into everything. As someone who comes from our culture, from our community, all of his advice just can't be taken word for word. And that's all I'm going to say. We have to look at everything a little bit different. And also understanding where he is and his decisions versus where we are in terms of scale. And that's not to say that he gives bad advice. He gives excellent advice. His overall arching theme in terms of, making money, putting money to work and living within your means is a good thing to, to kind of guide you. But if you want to follow specifically what he does, just understand there's a difference between him and his $1 billion company versus you, what I'm saying, getting your money
in your regular finances.
Now, I do want to talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk about something real quick because you said it. The amount of cash and interest he can make is bigger than some countries. But think about the size of some of your favorite companies that he's bigger than. Pause.
Well, we get to him, core pause. But yo, listen, Berkshire is now $1 trillion company. I think they cracked the trillion too, which is crazy to think about. We have multiple $1 trillion companies.
No, I don't think they cracked a trillion.
They did. I think they did.
They're close to it if they didn't.
Yeah, I know they had cracked it. You know what I mean? If I ain't better than big, I'm the closest one. I think they cracked it.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's interesting. So Berkshire is $1.04 trillion. And the share price of BKR.A, which is Berkshire A shares, because there's an A share and a B share.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
$724,000 $724,040. That's crazy. So Berkshire also does not believe in splitting their stock.
The A shares.
The A shares, not the B's, the A shares. But I think
he's
that's
actually talked about that. He's talked about that. He wants a certain type of investor to have A share.
But he also talks about the reason why he doesn't want to split, because one, he feels it's like financial engineering, but two, he would rather take that money and then redeploy it into other investments.
Well, because the thing about having an A share that high, he wants a certain type of investor that's not going to just sell. He wants someone that's going to be willing to hold long term. Yep. So it's interesting because one of the things we're going to do a video on this by itself is I remember looking at Berkshire in like 98 and looking at what the price was and thinking it was high then. And it's because you always hear about people who say like, I bought a stock at $1 and it went to this, and hear about buy low and sell high. But we really talk about the decisions we make where you could have bought high and then sold higher, right?
Yeah.
So, right. remember looking at that like, oh, this is too expensive. Now I'm sitting back like, we got to do a show about
I bought my
investments we didn't make.
I bought my first share of Microsoft at $65.
Dog, I remember in the 1990, Microsoft was like between 20 and 40 bucks.
That's what I was about to say. That was a bit of a premium. Yeah.
I remember that, bro. And I'm like,
listen, I bought my first at $65. I bought I ain't gonna say my first. I bought my first 100 at 65.
I called Amazon a stupid investment at $12.
But check this out. I'm going back to Corey, right? Because Microsoft, you said you bought it at 60. Right now it's at $423. And so that just goes to show a lot of times stocks can be a great investment.
A lot of times. I mean, in terms of, all right, so here's the thing, right?
Wait a minute, before Jimmy says that, this show is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This is not an investment. That's why I said sometimes. I didn't want to make an absolute statement. Everybody knows I love the stock market. But go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say most times, because when you look at the different types of investments there are, right? When you talk about equities versus real estate, versus commodities, whatever it may be, the one thing that the stock market has specifically in 2024 is liquidity, the ease to get into the game, and the information available, right? So the thing about like real estate, most of the time, right? Not all the time, it'll take you more capital to get into that game. And the thing about stock market is the ability to be as liquid as it is, because real estate tends to be an illiquid asset, right?
Unless you buy a REIT, but that's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show. Yeah, we got. Matter of fact, we need to hire an intern to go back through all our shows just to pull out all the topics we have from. That's for another show. We're probably gonna find 5,000 topics. But anyway.
Well, let me say this real quick. If you all are watching this and you're interested in a REIT show, because actually I do have a REIT video on deck somewhere, because my cousin keeps.
I got a whole REIT class that I put together. I never taught it, but I have it though.
Oh well, we have to do that too. But if y'all want to see that, put in the comment section. Please do a REIT class and a REIT show. And
then go sign up for our Patreon. You know what I'm saying? BlackWealthRebels.com, because I'm putting mine behind the paywall. Anyway, I digress though. But what I'm saying is the stock market tends to be, in terms of liquidity and also ease to get into the game, like probably the best investment, specifically now versus historically, because I'm an old geezer, right? So I started investing as soon as possible when I was a teenager. And I remember having to go drop checks off at an actual brokerage house in order to even get in the game, and having to buy a whole lot. And by lot, I mean 100 shares, not just one share. There was no Robinhood. There was no M1. There was no app that I can go to. So I'm kind of jealous of you folks that are getting into the game now, specifically the youth, where you can pick up an app, press a button. Like, y'all don't realize how great you have it.
And take $1 and buy a piece of whatever investment.
No, they don't know. It's like, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. My dad, the first gift he gave me for getting into college was the portfolio that he had built for me over 18 years of whatever, holding these, stocks that he bought me. And he had some bank stocks and stuff in there. And he put about $500 into it. And when he gave it to me, it was about $3,500. I was like, dang, over 18 years?
Wow.
And I was like,
that's kind of low too, though. Like, what was he buying? Was he buying CDs?
He was like, he gave it to me. He said, but the thing is, he handed me a book of stock. He handed me a book. I had to go to a brokerage to actually sell the stock, right? So because he said, listen, you can hold on to this, and to be honest, I can't even tell you what was in the book. He gave me the book. I literally went to the brokerage the next day.
See, that's the other part of the story. Corey went and sold it and then spent it with a lady of the evening. But
the lady of the evening part is only partially true.
You went right the night on Broadway.
No, I paid my college tuition first. Then I went to go see the ladies of the night.
Okay, so you went to the NOB. Shout out to the NOB, man.
No, but at least he had his priorities together. He did the right thing right. Then he blew the rest. And he had a good time.
Hey, listen, man.
He made some good memories.
That's right. Shout out to the night on Broadway, though. Shout out to NOB.
NOB.
And if you're not from Philly and you're listening to this, NOB, and there was another one Jimmy mentioned, they're all kind of seedy places that we all kind of traveled through our youth.
I'm gonna tell you like this. I was more of a Fox Valley man.
Oh, right on Broad Street.
I thought somebody was going to say the Piccadilly, but okay, that's enough of that.
Listen, the Pick was jumping the other day. I wasn't
also
in there, but
one of my favorite hangouts as a youth.
Dog, I rode by the Piccadilly the other day, like on Thanksgiving Eve, and they had like the block was going crazy. I said, hold up.
The line still be out the door.
I said, hold up. What, they got a Thanksgiving special going on at the Pick? Like, what's going on?
So listen, the Piccadilly is a strip club that has women with bullet holes in them, but it's a great time, or it can be a great time.
No, man, the joint on West Philly called the Ponytail. I'm not sure if that exists. Those are the ones they literally had bullet holes in them, like literally. Not even joking, but I digress. This is about Warren Buffett, and somehow we got to Piccadilly and right on Broadway. So
because Kamari started talking about me and the ladies of the night, and I think
actually, wait, that wasn't me.
It was me making a joke about you trading your stock in. Soon as your dad gave you the stock, you admittedly, because the question, Corey, is, see, you don't know what the portfolio was because you was all about getting that bread, right? I wonder if you look back, what would it be worth today, right? Because you're talking about also like damn near 30 years ago, right? So whatever was in that portfolio, assuming he didn't give you no Enron, right? We don't know where
it's probably worth 10 times. That'd probably be worth 35.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing. That's the thing about like buying assets and having the discipline and dedication of being in it for the long term, and also teaching the youth how to be in it for the long term, right?
He gave me he said, listen, I would hold it, but I got it for you. It's yours. 18th birthday. Right. You know what I mean? And I didn't make a poor choice. I just didn't make a good choice.
No, I did. No. I'm not knocking you or him. I'm just saying that as generations go along now, if you know better, you do better, right? So you learned, your father did the first step, which is like being able to save for you. Now the next step is what you tell your kids. How do you leverage that for the long term?
He also has done this for each of my kids. My son is about to get his on Christmas.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
But let's bring it back to Warren Buffett, though, right? Mm-hmm. So he has a mountain of cash, $320 billion. Again, you can walk to the moon with all that cash, literally. But here's the thing. There are some things that you can learn from Buffett and this mountain of cash. No, we are not billionaires. No, we can't do everything exactly.
Speak for yourself.
But I'm joking.
But there are some things I feel that everybody can glean from Warren Buffett. I also study Warren Buffett. Like Jimmy said, one thing he does is he studies ferociously. I can't say he's got inside information, but what he does have, he has access to people who analyze the market like nobody else. He spends 6 to 8 hours a day reading books. He's got incredible discipline, right? And every time he makes a purchase or a sell, he has a strategy for it. Yep. And so the reason why he has all this cash is because he wants to be able to do something with it. And to me, your average person can do a lot by sitting on cash a lot of times and not following trends, saving for a rainy day, and being prepared for everything that's coming. And the beautiful thing is I tell everybody, work on having a year's worth of savings set aside, year's worth of your income of savings set aside. And people always say, well, Kamari, that's a lot of money to have in the bank. And I don't like to talk about this because I say, well, once you get to a certain point, you can then diversify that. You can go into what Jimmy talked about with Buffett. He has T-bills. You can do other things with that money. But the biggest thing to do is have discipline and then a savings habit and living beneath your means. And as we see, the data shows most people don't do that. And that's the scary part.
Yeah.
No, great. That's a great little part right there. I mean, I don't know what to add to that other than, the fundamentals, right? Me and Kamari just talked before we came on about the fundamentals, saving, budgeting. Before we get to all the fancy stuff, those fundamentals. And by the time, as we keep creating content together and doing videos or whatever, you guys are going to get tired of hearing me saying some of the same things, but I think it's important to consistently reiterate this point, is that the fundamentals are the most important part of all of this. I don't care about your wheel strategy or your spread options play or these shit coins you want. I don't care about any of that if you don't have the ability to save, work on your discipline, and consistency is the other thing I think that has to be mentioned too, because Buffett is consistent in what he does, right? So discipline and consistency go hand in hand, but I think it's important to bring that up as well. And the average person can learn from that.
Now, before we get to the final episode, the final countdown of this, we got to pay the bills. Give me 1 second, y'all.
What's the deal, party people? Philadelphia's favorite comedian, too, right here. Just want to tell you, it's that season again. That's right. Tax season is upon us. Don't panic. Don't get stressed. Get you a strong team behind you. That's what I did. I got the Philly tax team behind me. They came in, they explained and organized my finances. They filed my tax returns for up to 3 years. They did everything that we as entertainers are not always paying attention to. Get you a team that will make you a better player. Philly tax team. I'm on it. Get yours.
Right, shout out to Ray for that great commercial. But yeah, Buffett is wonderful at this, and he's 94 years old. He hasn't slowed down yet. And the funny thing is everybody's complaining about these other two old folks we got running for president or was running for president who are slowing down. He hasn't slowed down at all, and he's still sharp.
Yeah, I mean, he also stays out the way. I think, you know, the life of politicians is, you know what I mean? He knows how to disappear until he got something to say.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
You know, and I just want to add to the record.
That's also to be studied.
Yeah, there you go, Corey. I also want to add to the record that I'm also a client of Philly tax team, and they do amazing work. You know, so I don't get a commercial and all that, but you know, I will say that.
Well, wait a minute. So Jimmy I don't tell who my clients are, but Jimmy is a client. Jimmy, you can do a commercial anytime you want, and you can get a spot on the show.
I mean, I'm not an entertainer. You know what I'm saying?
You don't need to be. Listen, you're a superstar.
Listen, man. I'm a real estate and Bitcoin blatherskite. That's what I am.
But Corey's cracking up. But listen, as we end out the show, I want y'all all to know, Jimmy isn't just a blatherskite. Jimmy flies all over the country and the world. He's going to Amsterdam next week to talk about what, Jimmy? Real estate, right?
Yeah, real estate. Yeah.
Right. And he's going to be teaching on some college campuses really, really soon as well. I won't talk about that because I wasn't cleared to talk about that, but
you just talked about it anyway.
I didn't say no name. My point being is, listen, we all superstars. We just got to understand our star player power.
Yes, sir, man. And you know, so take what you can. I guess the last words I'll have, I let Kamari end it off because I'm always stepping on Kamari's ending. So I'm not going to step on your ending. You know what I mean? I know this is the start of the ending. You know what I'm saying? Salute the Mob Deep, by the way. But what I'll say, I'm gonna end with this. I just want to say that Warren Buffett, we can study him, right? Even our folks, even our community, you can study certain things from him, right? But also understand that everything he does, you can't do that. So you got to take the good with the good, you know, got to throw some stuff out and you have to make it work for you, create your own version of what it is that he does. You know, because I have to bring up something Bitcoin related, although I said it multiple times. If you look at what's going on with MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor, that is kind of his take on the Buffett approach. Buffett's approach is, you know, to find things like insurance companies and be able to leverage them to then buy assets. And Michael Saylor has kind of figured out kind of financial engineering in his own right within the Bitcoin space. So I say, whatever your situation is personally, study Warren Buffett and then apply it to kind of what you want to do. And, you know, maybe that is sitting on cash. That's all. I'm not going to step on your ending this evening. I'll let Corey do it.
Corey, what you got for the people?
Listen, I mean, my take is totally different than Jim's. Leave dude alone. Damn, he working on something that you can't work on. Like, he working with information that you don't have, and so you can study his habits. But studying him I think is kind of counterintuitive. Like, I don't study people per se like him. Like, I would more likely study Jimmy and Kamari than I would study Buffett, because they have habits that I could work towards. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing things that I could work towards and be right. Like, realistically, me making $1 billion in my mid-40s is not something realistic. Now, I could get lucky and I could buy something and it could go straight to the moon. Like, my Bitcoin could go from what it is to $1 billion tomorrow. But realistically, me being a billionaire in my 40s, that's not something that's realistic for me. With the amount of money I make and the amount of money that, you know, I'm able to put up into the market, into the markets that I'm in. Now, I'm not saying I'm broke, but what I'm saying is I don't have, like, I can't, like Jim was saying, I can't, I'm closer to $250 than I am to that 328. You see what I'm saying? So I got,
to that point, I think a lot of people don't even realize the difference between, say, 1,000 and a million and a million and a billion, right? Because $1 billion is such a significant amount of money that, and I know that these days the word billionaire and billions are thrown around just like so much. That's why I always laugh when I see that meme. You guys ever seen that meme when they show like the little marbles and they show the difference between like a million and a billion?
Yeah,
it's completely ridiculous. People don't realize that. So when you talk about someone sitting on 300 billion, it's crazy.
The staggering, because the thing about it is the difference between a million and a billion is the same difference between 1 and 1,000. But most people don't understand that. You see what I'm saying? Like if I gave you $1 and I gave you $1,000, what you could do with $1 and $1,000 is totally different. And that's the same thing with Buffett. If you got a millionaire and a billionaire, that billionaire is 1,000 times richer than the millionaire.
Yeah. And like, last point I'm making, I know I said last point already, but Corey, got me thinking is the one thing about studying Buffett is when you realize when he made a majority of his money. And I think that's something else you could take from this, right? He's been investing for so long, and he's lived to be this age too, which also enables him to get the money up to where it is. But I think that most of his money was made like when he was past 55.
Yep. I think it was past 45. So something
45?
like that. He wasn't a teenager though, like everybody aspires to being uber rich. He was older.
Yeah. So I mean that's something else to think about as well, to Corey's point, man. But I digress. I let Kamari.
At his age, then I'd probably be sitting on what he's sitting on. But I'm not, realistically.
Hey, listen, man, we black men in Philadelphia, man. Our life expectancy. Yeah. I saw the other day the life expectancy of a black man in Philadelphia is like 65 now. It's crazy. But
out of pocket.
Go ahead, Kamari, man. What's your final words, man? Let's take this out of here, man. What you got to say, man?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So listen, Warren Buffett is right. He didn't become a millionaire until he was 32. He didn't become a billionaire until he was 55, as Jimmy said. But again, as I said before, his discipline, I do believe is something that can be studied because you can literally move mountains with discipline. There's a quote from one of my favorite books, The Richest Man in Babylon. A part of everything you earn is yours to keep. And if you keep that near and dear to your heart, you can do a lot of things. Turn the commercials off because everybody wants to separate you from your cash. Once you get separated from your cash, a lot of times you're separated from your power. So I appreciate you all watching the Finance Roll Show. I'm Kamari Ellis, your host. We'll be back really, really soon. Do me a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast or Apple Music. But until the next time, y'all, I'll see you soon.